Alright guys, welcome to homework for 12.4 tutorial. I'm going to try to make this quick. I'll guide you through a bunch of this stuff and see if you guys can do this on your own. That's how you really learn. Alright, number one. Christopher is developing plans for a new community development. Use the grid below to help Christopher create a map of this development. Each grid represents one block. Okay. Zoom in on this. Okay, I'm studying it. So basically there's two streets. Here's what I'm studying. A street named Moon Drive and one called Sunshine Avenue. The cleaners, community gardens here, the banks here. Alright, no problem. Currently there are two main roads that pass through development. Yep, and they are parallel. Okay, parallel, that's important. Like a train track, parallel. Calculate the slope of Sunshine Avenue. Alright, Sunshine Avenue. Alright. So Sunshine is this guy right here. And it's definitely going down. So I can visually see that the slope is going down. So before I forget, I'm going to say the slope is negative. For sure. It's going down. Now we want to calculate how much is going down. Alright, so let's look here. So that point right there is, these are by 2, so it's 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, so how far does this have to go down to meet this one right here? And this point is 5, 3. So from 7, it has to go down 4 steps to get to 3. And then from 0, it's got to go to 5, okay? So I think I figured out my slope. But first, I would like you to put the points down. The first point at the top was 0, 7, which will represent this guy right here, 2, 4, 6, 7. And then the second point right there looks like it's 5, 3. Okay, so I'm going to put it right underneath. And so my slope is always from the y's first. How do you get from 7 to 3? Well, I go down 4. And how do you get from 0 to 5? I go up 5. So here's my slope, negative 4/5. Determine the slope of Moonbeam Drive. All right. Now, this is a little silly because we know that parallel lines have the same slope. So I really don't have to do the work. I just have to say it's negative 4/5. But we can prove it here. Okay, and you can do this yourself, show the work. Here's the cleaners. Looks like it's at 12, 14, 15 at 4. And then the community garden is at 20, 0. So this has to drop down 4 and go over 5 steps, 2, 4, 5, just like we said it was going to down here. Okay, so go ahead and do the points here, just like we did on A, and you should have also 4/5. That is negative. All right, number 2. Christopher wants to build a third road, and it's going to be parallel to Moonbeam. Okay, on this road, and he built a new diner located 7 blocks north of the garden. All right, so we want to identify the coordinates. So 7 blocks north of the garden. So here is the garden right there. And he wants to go 7 blocks. So we have, here's 2, 4, 6, 7. So what coordinate is that? Okay, straight north, assuming that up is north. Okay, so that would be 20, 7. Okay. And my reasoning is that only the y's went up by 7. Oops, that was supposed to go down here. My bad. All right, determine the slope of the boulevard. Okay, well, if they're parallel, therefore they are congruent. All right, next. And I think you have to draw it as well, okay? Draw the new street, call it Sunbeam. 27. All right, next, here's a part that's algebraic in nature. Determine the equation the line represents the new boulevard. All right, so we know that the diner is going to be at 20,7. Okay, that's a point. And then the slope was -4/5. So now we can create the equation by using this simple little formula. Y minus y equals slope times x minus x. And all we have to do is substitute three numbers in here. This is the y, that goes there. This is the x, goes here. And this is the slope, which goes here. So I'm going to write in red what we're substituting. Y minus y is 7, so it's going to be -7. And slope is -4/5. And I like to substitute the second x and the second y, and -7. Okay. We're actually, whoops, -20. So this should be in black. Oops. This should be in red because I am determining that this is red. Okay. All right, so those are the three numbers I substitute in the formula, and then I just distribute to both of the things in the parentheses. Rewrite your new equation. Y minus 7 is -4/5 x. Now here, negative times negative is positive. Okay, careful there. Look at this, negative times negative, that makes it positive, so you got to put a plus. And then 4 times 20 is 80. And then 5 times 1. A lot of kids multiply 5 times 20, but in reality, you only multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator, which will be 8 here. I mean 5. And then you can use a calculator to figure out what that is, okay? I need a new equation over here. Y minus 7 is -4/5 x plus 5 into 8 is 1, and 30 left over, which would be 16. All right, we're almost there. The last step. Last step is to get rid of the 7. So plus 7, be real neat here, real careful. So y is -4/5 x plus 23. All right, so this is the equation that represents a line that has this slope and goes through 20.7. Okay. So now you can draw this on your grid, and you'll notice that it should cross the y-intercept, the y-axis at 23. So it should cross the y-axis at 23 with this slope. All right. Number 1, determine whether each pair of lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Explain your reasoning. All right. The idea here is this. If they have the same slope, then they are parallel. Okay, same. That means what? Parallel. Now, slopes, there's 3 options: parallel, perpendicular, or neither. It means they're not either one. Now look at this. We talked a little bit about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines, I'm going to call them like that, they are opposite. So I mean, one is plus and one's a minus, and reciprocal. That means the fractions flip. Okay? So they have to be like that. They have to have both of the criteria. This one is reciprocal, but they're both positive, so therefore neither. Okay? One of those would have had to have been negative for them to be reciprocal. All right, so go ahead and use that idea. If they have the y by themselves, like this, y equals mx plus b, then this is the slope, that's the slope. Okay. if the y is not by itself, then you cannot determine the slope. For example, number 6, okay? Number 6, you don't know the slope, okay? You got to get y by itself. So for this one, we need to get y by itself. So we need to get rid of the x and the 2. And then we determine. All right, so let's get rid of the x by subtracting the x. And so we have 2y equals 6 minus x. Now we divide it by 2. So that becomes y equals 3 minus 1/2 x. Okay? I just kind of split that one up. So here is my slope of my first line. Now I got to figure out the second line. Okay? 3x plus 6y is 12. We need to get rid of that 3x first. So we have 6y is 12 minus 3x. Now you can divide by 6, divide by 6, divide by 6. And we have y equals 2. And 3 over 6 is negative 1/2 x. So look at this, same, therefore parallel. That's the symbol for parallel, and this is reciprocal, okay? So that's how you do it. Make sure that you go slow and steady on these, okay? Especially when they're in standard form. All right, number 7 and 8, you must figure out the slopes of these guys. And check their if they're parallel, perpendicular, neither. Some of these are pretty easy to see. For example, this is obviously not parallel, but we don't know for sure which one is 90 degrees. This definitely doesn't look like 90 degrees, but figure out the slopes. This one kind of looks like it could be parallel, but it looks a little twisted, okay? So check out the slopes. For example, on this one, the slope would be, let's see, from here to here. Let's check the y's. Well, we had to go up 9. And then for the x, we had to go from 1 to 7, that's 6, okay? Now for the other one, it looks like we had to go up 8 and across by 4. So those do not match. No bueno means neither. They're not parallel or perpendicular. All right, 15, 14, and 16, okay? Determine the equation for each line described. Write your answer in both. All right, point slope and slope intercept form. Holy smokes, no problem. All right, easy. What is the equation of a line parallel to this one that passes through here? Okay, so first, we need to find the slope of this line. And that line is, the slope is -5. So now we borrowed the slope of that line because we want it to be parallel. And we're going to use that x and y, and go ahead and plug it into your equation, which I have demonstrated in previous ones, and plug it in and solve it. Okay. The next one, parallel, borrow that slope, and then there's your x and y. And perpendicular is different, okay? So go ahead and pause it and come back to this when you get the perpendicular. All right, ready for perpendicular. Perpendicular, you're going to borrow this slope right here, 2. Okay? So m is 2. But we don't want to use that slope. We want to bop it and tweak it and turn it. So the slope we want is opposite, so it's going to be negative and reciprocal. So we don't want this one, but we want to use that to create the reciprocal slope, which is -1/2. So now you can use this slope and this x and y, and to solve it out. Okay, This is called point slope form. And like I said, I've done this a few times, so make sure that you understand. Take your time, write really neat and clear. Be careful with your negatives. 21, you're going to borrow this slope, but you're going to make it positive and reciprocal. So this is the slope you want to get. Okay, it's a positive 5/3, and then you're going to use that x and y.